Goodness. Okay, let's see what I can get started here. Hope everyone's doing good. Just wanted to come talk about the new moon, which happens Friday. Maybe bring myself up on video here. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Oh, I hope everyone's doing good. It's been a very interesting time, hasn't it? Let me turn my little chakra music down here. I have my chakra music going. Sit in my corner of the bedroom where I work and sleep and play. Spend all my time in my bedroom. So how's the Venus retrograde going for everyone? I hope the Venus retrograde is going very well. You know, I didn't know what to expect, and that's so funny with astrology, is that you can learn all of the archetypes and the techniques and what everything means, and you still can't predict how things are going to feel. And I actually kind of enjoy that because it informs my reality. You know, I can know that Venus retrograde is coming up, and Venus means beauty and love and finances, and that's the function it has, and what we love, and our idea of peace. And Gemini is intellectual behavior, and it's communication, and retrograde is making it go internal. So okay, you put all that together and you go, this could be weird. I could be rethinking things, rethinking what I value, re-evaluating parts of my life. And how's that going to look? It can kind of be scary, but honestly, I don't want to approach things that way, because life is scary no matter what you do. It's a trip, it's a ride, right? So I'm not going to let astrology make me nervous. I've decided that, because some of it can look nerve-wracking as hell. I'm looking at the astrology for December or November and the election, and I'm like, whoa, we've got a Mars retrograde, and Mars is anger and ego and passion, and over an election cycle, that, okay, that's going to be great, right? I refuse to let it scare me anymore, especially after the experience that I've just had. The experience that I've had through isolation, a global pandemic. If I'd known that was coming, what would I have thought? How would I have acted? How would I have approached things if I knew a pandemic was coming? I mean, you can't know the future. That's what's so great about astrology, is it's archetypally predictive, not actually predictive of events. So I know that themes are coming up. I know that shifts are happening, and they're happening in this certain place, this certain way, this certain area, but I don't know how. Sometimes I hit on it, but that's intuition, you know? Sometimes I can say, well, you know, this might happen, but usually it's just archetypally predictive. So the archetype we were dealing with in January was that we were going through a shift of our rules for ourselves, which encompasses government, authority, the breakdown of a foundation, and the restructuring of rules and society, reality, really. Also, financial systems. A lot of astrologers predicted World War, you know, things like that. Maybe one astrologer said a virus, but it's indicative of the fact that it's very hard to predict something. Okay, that was a long-winded way of saying that I knew the theme for Venus retrograde was going to be a shift in what our value system is, a shift in how I think about what I value, a shift in how I do things in my life, because Gemini really is about everyday life and how you communicate, how you talk, and what you write about, what you love in that area, how you also how you value the information coming into your life and the information going out, you know? So let me show you the chart. Because this new moon is going to be in Gemini, in the same area that the Venus retrograde is. This is the chart for right now. Let me circle Gemini. This is Gemini here. And you can see we have the sun there, Mercury. There's my spotlight. There's Venus. That's asteroid Vesta. Vesta is the asteroid that represents where you keep the fires burning. It's the Vesta was the fire tender in mythology. So wherever Vesta appears in a chart, you're kind of stoking the fire there. And the North Node, which is where eclipses happen. All of that in Gemini. And this is today. But also this little bugger, this is why I decided to go live right now, because the moon is conjunct Uranus. Oh, I love that energy. It can be quite shocking energy, but Uranus is the planet that rules revolution and change and upheaval. And when the moon hits it, you can have an emotional realization. Maybe electric emotions is a good way to put it, because Uranus is electricity, right? So innovation is a big word here. Emotionally innovative during today. You know, you might have some emotional messages come to you that you don't think you feel, but that's theme. And I love that the moon hit Uranus before it's a new moon in Gemini, because at this time, the information coming in is so two-faced. There is no steady, sure information that we can really put our hands on right now. Now, obviously, people are trying. I mean, we're trying to have scientific studies that define the nature of this virus. So it's not for lack of trying, right? But it is for lack of being able to figure it out right now. I think that no matter what we do, it's like I don't know what to say about this. So the fact that the moon hit Uranus before the new moon is really like this emotional message of life is chaos. I hope that everyone's getting that message today, because I am. We have something going on now that I don't think we've experienced to a certain degree in our lifetimes, but not to this degree. You know, like I remember the SARS stuff, and I was like, I just remember noting it in my mind. I was much younger, obviously, and when you're young, you have a certain amount of bravado and don't necessarily care about certain things like that. But I do also remember the H1N1, and honestly, that's a lie. I didn't remember it. I had a Facebook memory that popped up, and I was like, that's what I did during the H1N1 outbreak. Guess what I did? I went on a cruise. And my Facebook memory, how embarrassing, talked about how I was upset that they changed the cruise from a certain place in Mexico to the Bahamas. Oh, I was so upset about it. Oh, the bravado of youth. It was quite embarrassing. I mean, obviously no one can see your memories unless you share them, but I saw my memory, and I could not believe that, you know, that's what I was doing. But I think it sort of tempered my current reality to go, okay, look, no matter what, things are always shifting. As a person, you're always shifting. You're always changing your mind. You know what I mean? There are some people who stay very, you know, sure and steady, but most people throughout the course of their life shift in such huge ways that you would never expect, you know? So this includes your ideologies, this includes your personal truth, you know, your belief systems. And this is really what's on deck for right now. So you can expect to maybe even not feel the same way today that you'll feel in a month. Now, if you'd asked me a month ago, would I expect to feel like I do now? The answer would be absolutely not, because how do I feel now? Well, let me explain it. during this Venus retrograde in Gemini, I knew that I would have some sort of shift in the way I think about something, especially in my values. And I have been a very staunch isolationist. I do believe that this virus is very dangerous and we don't know what it's going to do. I do believe that there's a lot we don't know about it. It could be the cause of autoimmune disorders. It could reactivate old viruses in your body. No one really knows. It can make people sterile. That's literally a thing that people are thinking maybe right now because it affects men's testicles, right? It affects your kidneys. That's pretty terrifying, okay? However, I have allowed myself to open up. I mean, and I think that has been a practice that I decided to do, like intentionally open up my mind for different points of view. The divide is so deep right now. I mean, there's no time that I can remember, now I'm not talking about the virus, I'm talking about political and just people in general. They're so divided and it's so scary. To me, that is becoming more scary than the prospect of getting sick. And I know that sounds crazy. Obviously, I want to live and I want to live healthy. I'm the only living parent of 2 young girls, okay? But do I feel that I'm in imminent danger from this virus at this moment? No. Does that make me lucky? Yes. I'm a young, healthy individual, okay? Yes. What I do feel like I'm in imminent danger of is the chaos that this country and the world is descending into, with how we approach one another. It's almost as if because of technology, we look at each other as this two-dimensional place on the internet. Mandy Ray is not a human with flesh and blood that feels and has opinions and has experiences. Mandy Ray is a place on the internet. That's what I feel like right now. That's how I feel like everyone views one another. So I've tried to allow myself to open up to different points of view and open up to the idea that humanity is so diverse and that you cannot talk people out of their experiences. No matter what you do, you cannot talk people out of their experiences. People are going to come from the place they come from. There is this idea that we are the universe experiencing itself, right? That's this sort of woo-woo idea. And if that's the case, then the universe wants to experience a variety of things, right? And that changes my perspective when I think about, I feel bad for the opiate addict, okay? And I'll just let's say that I know someone who's an opiate addict and I want to help them and change them and make them healthy, okay? There is a certain part of this reality, though, where that needs to exist. And there are certain people who incarnate, and I am definitely talking metaphysical woo-woo right now because that is something that I like and that I appreciate and enjoy talking about. Part of me really does like to be super realistic and super scientific and look at this in a very psychological way. And then there's the spiritual part of me that believes that this is a little bit bigger than our little human existence, right? So if we're the universe experiencing itself in every different way possible, there is a part of that universe that wants to experience what it's like to be an opiate addict with nobody in their life. That's a hot take. Does that mean it's cool? No. I mean, does that mean it's fun? No. But there is a part of this reality that wants to experience the bad. And there's a part of this reality that wants to be Sting, and wants to experience what it's like to be a rich creative that has no problem and is always doing yoga and You know, so it's so diverse. We are so diverse. Our experiences, our lives, our stories are so different from one another. And so I say all that to point out that there are people who have an experience that maybe you can't understand, but what you can understand is that they're a human. And as much as you want to, you know, come down on the people who are at a packed out brewery, you know, like they're spreading this sickness, they're causing it. I mean, absolutely, you can see so many different sides to this, right? Yeah, those people probably are spreading it. That sucks ass. Sucks ass that we have to deal with a virus right now. But there's this other part of humanity, human experience that, you know, maybe while you're on Facebook coming down hard on all these people packed out at the brewery, someone comes on there that you love and care about and says, yeah, well, my brother almost lost his house because he has no job, and for some reason unemployment didn't come through, so he has to be at work. I love it when I cry. I love it when I get emotional, because this is the breadth of human existence right now. And so, yeah, you may care about someone whose brother almost lost their house and has to be at work. And if it weren't for the fact that this, you know, this place was open, he would lose his home. Okay. Both of those things suck so bad. There's a virus going around killing people, and we're in an economic depression. And we have a government that can't take care of us the way it should. There's so many different experiences, and to love people through all of them is going to be very important. To encourage people through all of it is going to be very important. And I feel like that's exactly what this new moon and this Venus retrograde is representative of. Sorry for getting emotional, but I feel like so many people are in such tough situations in every part of life, you know, and to point your finger and scream at any one of them for anything is, it's not going to help. It's small-minded. You know, I saw a quote or a meme or something that said, tell me about the worst thing you've ever done and the worst thought you've ever had. Let me love you through it. Let me love you anyway. None of us are right. None of us have an answer that's right for everybody. None of us can push a button and make the virus go away. None of us can push a button and make everyone have the money they need to exist and survive. None of us can push a button and know the truth. Not right now. So I find myself waffling back and forth between being some crazy liberal and then sounding like a right-wing nut job. That's me. I guess I'm a two-faced person at this point. I can't see the way forward. Yes, by the way, I guess I'm a preacher now, but let me preach about that. I cannot stand the terms liberal and right-wing anymore. We are not so black and white as people. I have absolute, care and respect for people who are involved in politics, and you absolutely have to be. But damn if I don't want to do away with the two-party system. That's a part of what's creating the deep divide in our country, to be local. But I'm sure it's happening across the globe. I believe it is, Quit calling people a name. Quit calling them right wing. Quit calling them left wing. Ask them about their beliefs. Ask them about their stories. Love them. Encourage them. Tell them your story. This is what the new moon in Gemini is about. It's about communicating to do what Venus wants, which is bring peace and love into this situation. I guess I should look up the new moon chart after I've gotten so ridiculously upset, but I can't help it. I cannot help my extreme disdain and sadness over this, uh, you know, I don't know, I'm sure there's a word I'm looking for, but putting people into this box. Do I wish that there were a certain subset of people that didn't believe they did? Absolutely. There's no room for racism in the world today, okay? There's no room for hate, though, in general. So I am definitely not excusing people who are evil, but unfortunately, that is the dualistic world we live in. And it is that concept that without the dark, there wouldn't be light. It's really dark and shitty. I hate it. But beyond that easy way of looking at things, like, oh, that's absolutely evil, bringing it up to a more moderate, this is the level we all generally live in, it gets a lot more complicated. It's like, uh, I don't want, I've had to put it this way. For instance, family member doesn't want the government to be able to mandate things close and people wear masks, okay? So then that same family member wants to think that drugs should be outlawed. Well, which is it? Do I have the right to do whatever I want with my body and my freedom, including, inject some terrible poison into my system? Or do I not? There's a lot of hypocrisy going on. Do I have the right to harm myself, or do I not? Do I have the right to not wear a mask? Maybe some people consider that harmful, right? Well, then do I have the right to inject a deadly drug into myself? Do I have a right to end my life when I want, in a safe way? A safe way. Not painful. I guess nothing's safe if you're dying, right? These are the things that I think are coming to light right now. The dualistic nature of reality. And if you're going to really think one way, open your mind up and think of a different issue in which this topic is also relevant, okay? So that's the challenge for this season, especially for this month. You've got information coming at you from all different directions. And there's another thing, not just the new moon in Gemini, which is the trickster. Be a trickster this month. Try to play a different character. What is it like to be someone else? What is it like to be someone who is service industry and was paid under the table, can't get unemployment? That's all they've ever done. They're going to need to work again. Service industry means being in service. So you have to see people, do things for people. That's a service industry. What is it like to be there? Are you going to judge how they got there? Is that helpful? Hell no, it's not. Well, they should have. Right. Okay. Well, that's not possible. You can't go back and change the past. So this is how we move forward, right? What's it like to be someone who is hustling their ass off at a job in a box, and all of a sudden they are able to work from home and their quality of life is improved? And they really don't want things to open up because they want to keep working from home. What's it like to be that person? What's it like? It's so important. So on the day of the new moon, Venus and Mercury are together. And Mercury is how you think. So it's in the sign it rules, Gemini. It rules Gemini. This is like, man, look at it from a different point of view. And the interesting thing here is that it's also configured in a square to Neptune. Now, that is so crazy. Why? Because Neptune is confusion. Neptune is fog and illusion. That is one way of putting it, but it's also dreams and it's also spirituality, okay? It's escape. So the fact that Venus and Mercury are configured in a square to this is, it's going to be very hard to see what is real right now. It's going to be very, very hard. And instead of being able to rely on facts, which is what Gemini wants facts written down. It wants, it wants communication to be truthful. But the interesting part about Gemini is that, and Mercury, is that you might get a Gemini or someone who's mercurial who will maybe not say all the facts, right? That's the nature of this square with Neptune. But definitely not being able to concretely understand what the facts are, okay? So what does that force you to do? It forces you to be in your heart and be in your feelings. And instead of intellectually thinking about these things, it doesn't mean you don't need to be intellectual. What I mean is, instead of only processing it through this very brainy way, you're going to be challenged to process things from your heart and from your feelings, from your value system, right? And maybe even shifting that up a little bit, because it doesn't feel right to be shitty to that person for having to go to work at a restaurant. It doesn't feel right. And it doesn't feel right to be shitty to that person for wanting to protect themselves because they are immunocompromised. What is your feeling? What is that higher spiritual notion telling you about this situation? There's another thing in Pisces going on. Mars has moved there. Mars is action. And in Pisces, first of all, does Mars like being in a water sign? Probably not. Because Mars is a fire planet. Pisces is like, I don't really have anything that I want to do. And Mars is like, are you kidding me? So the need to escape is fairly strong right now, escaping from all this frenzy of information. And also maybe this false sense of everything's okay, it's square to the new moon. And it's like, I want to get out and hang out with people. I miss that, that's kind of this Mars and Pisces sort of escapism. And I would caution against that too. Escaping into a fantasy land is not going to help anybody either. You can't find the facts. Well, let's just F it all, That's sort of this square going on. So better to escape into something like meditation or spiritual pursuits, creative pursuits, highly creative right now, highly. One of the nature of a retrograde planet is that it makes it a little more intense. It's like acting on this, super autonomous, because it's, when something's retrograde, it's not going the motion that the planets typically go, right? So it's sort of like, I'm doing my own thing, a little bit of a rebellious energy, a little bit more intense. And so Venus retrograde in Gemini is extremely creative, and also square to Neptune. You might have some crazy dreams. Tap into that today. Tap into the muses, especially today through Friday. Actually, probably even this weekend, because the moon will be in Gemini. This new moon is at the very beginning degrees of Gemini, so it'll be in Gemini for a while. But paying attention during this time through June to the messages going around, really trying to see things from different people's perspectives is going to be super important. Mars is also going to be sextile Uranus, and that is a bit of a rebellious energy as well. But innovative, that's another thing, like maybe getting ideas ideas about how to move forward in this crazy society that we've got going on. So I'm going to move forward in time a little bit and try to keep this not too long because, man, I just got on a damn soapbox and kept going. Um, oh yeah, I almost missed that. The new moon is trine to Saturn. So this gives us some information, okay? There's a relationship here. Anytime a planet is configured in a trine, these things are supporting each other. Saturn in Aquarius, and in fact, I've already sort of explained this thing with the whole seeing it from other people's perspectives. It's like, look at the rules other people have for themselves. You know, what does the future look like? How can we go forward? Can we go forward by really having everything shut down? Listen, this is not a commentary on how the government's response has been, because we all know it's been abysmal. You know, like really, if we had lockdown for 2 weeks and a hard lockdown, one that was way restrictive, we likely would be able to open up without, you know, being really scared, you know. But there is the reason that it's so weird right now is because our lockdown was kind of like flimsy. It was a flimsy lockdown. And so going forward, it's like, but we didn't lock down enough. So anyway, my point is the rules for the way we're going forward in the future are kind of, we're reevaluating them. It's like, okay, well, we can't keep this flimsy lockdown going. That's not going to work. And now everything's open back up. So what are the rules for myself? What are the rules for how I hang out with people? What are the rules for how I go out into the world now? This is back to your intuition and your heart. You cannot intellectualize this away or find a way through it with your mind. You're going to have to go with your gut and your feelings, you know, and you're going to have to do it as safely as possible. And that's about the best you can do. Keep washing your hands. If you feel the need to wear a mask, wear a mask. My ideas on that are also very moderate, because masks really only work when everyone's wearing them. Do I wish we could do that? Absolutely. I wish everyone would absolutely fall in line and wear a damn mask, because then it would cut down on aerosols in the room, you know? But if 29 people out of 30 are in a room wearing a mask, and that one person who's not wearing the mask is an asymptomatic carrier, even if the other 29 people are negative for the virus, they are exposed to that because one person didn't wear a mask. So when I look at it from that elevated perspective and that overall perspective, I think it doesn't even matter. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to try. I'm going to wear a covering over my face. Can't force other people to do it. At this point, it's hard not to feel like, damn. So how do I go forward? What are my rules, you know? If you are someone who is immunocompromised and terrified, my heart is absolutely with you. Because in that way, I do wish there was some way to force everyone to care. Care about every single human life. And in that way, I don't think so. We still have a long way to go before the age of Aquarius and the, you know, a community where we all take care of each other. We're a long way from that. But this is teaching us, this right now is teaching us. And please understand that there will be people who don't necessarily do it right. There will be people who feel it's not right for them to wear a mask. And it sucks. It sucks for the people who believe and feel as if they're being harmed by that. And, you know, what do? Do you yell at someone for not wearing a mask? Are you likely going to make everyone fall in line? No, you're not. You're going to have to do what you can do for yourself and encourage out of love that hopefully these people well, at least put on a covering around their face if they're going out in public. If they feel like going to a restaurant, perhaps they'll get the patio seating. It's very difficult to figure out how to move forward from this. It's so difficult. And I have no judgments on what's right and wrong. I can't. I've talked to too many people. I have too many different clients coming from too many different backgrounds to say this is wrong and this is right. You can call me whatever you want, but it's too hard. So that's why the only way I can see is that we go forward in the best way we can for ourselves with our intuition, our gut, what we feel we need to do for ourselves and our family. I'll give you a personal story. I believe that I'm going to have to probably get out and start playing gigs again. I'm a musician. In fact, I've taken a gig. I don't want to be called a murderer or someone who's trying to spread a virus. However, I need the money. That's where I'm at with that. But I pretty much planning, and I mean, it's not a set in stone thing, but I believe I'm going to homeschool my kids in the fall, because I feel like that's super petri dish city is a school, right? God, those two things seem to exist in completely different realities. I am, on one hand, going out in public and exposing myself by playing gigs, and on the other hand, want to protect myself and homeschool my kids. That's the nature of reality right now. It's dualistic, man. It's Gemini. It's two things, the twins. And I'm giving you that personal experience so you can see that it is not so easy. It is not so easy. That's the Saturn trine. That is, we have to look at reality. And then, what kind of people do you want around you? That's Saturn and Aquarius. What does your tribe look like? Do they look like the people who will judge you? Do they look like the people who would put you in danger if you are a high-risk individual? Do they look like the people who, I could come up with different metaphors and different examples, but I think you get what I'm saying. So that's that. Now, let me move forward in time. It's important to see that when you have a new moon, you realize it's the start of a phase, okay? So this is a new intention. This is why farmers plant during the new moon. All right, so you see it there. That's the little moon. That's the little sun. Hello, little moon and sun at 12:38 p.m. on Friday, May 22nd. New moon in Gemini. Now, we take it day by day and we go forward and we see that moon moves, okay? So on Saturday, it'll hit Venus and Mercury. You can just expect it to be similar energy as that new moon. What else do I see going on here? It is interesting. Saturday, Mars conjunct Ceres in Pisces, and Ceres is the nurturing mother, okay? It is about loving the earth, loving people, taking care of things. It's the mothering principle. And I think Mars conjunct Ceres that day, maybe we'll draw a little bit of attention on where we need to put focus on how we nurture the earth, other people, society, our spirituality, our creativity, things like that. Sunday, the moon moves into Cancer. Yeah, it sure does. Okay, so I should have this on 0 Aries so it doesn't switch so much. Let me do that really quick because it can be confusing with the ascendant switching. 0 Aries, please. Apply. Okay, there we go. Now it won't move so much when I'm going forward in time. So by the way, that's a quick little lesson on how the chart changes. This is where the rising sign is, and every 2 hours or so that changes, right? So that's how you see when it's night or daytime, because if the sun, that's the sun, is down here, then it's nighttime. If it's up here, it's daytime. Super cool. So yeah, for instance, at 8:30 p.m. on Sunday, the sun will be down here, and that's why all that Gemini is down at the bottom of the chart. Okay, so sorry about that. I just had to explain in case you're looking and you're wondering what the heck, how that changed so much. So Moon in Cancer, super emotional, but it will trine Mars and just sort of connect us with that. Maybe, you know, I don't really know where I'm going, but my emotions are going to help me figure that out. I think Mars in Pisces is a little bit confused about direction, you know, but at the same time, it's receiving these intuitive indications of direction. So also enjoy this time, but because June, Mars moves into Aries and it'll be there for 6 months. And that's going to be extremely inflammatory. So that's just my opinion. Okay, so then it stays there till about Wednesday. What's going on here? Looking. Moon in Leo. I would say middle of the week's going to feel like you want to just have fun, needing some joy in your life. Getting creative is going to be important, especially during the middle of the week next week. The moon moves into Virgo on next Friday, May 29th. And, oh, I skipped a very important day. No, I didn't. Not yet. Okay. I want to make sure. Mercury moves into Cancer. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so next Friday, Mercury, planet of communication, the planet of how we think, moves into the extremely emotional sign of Cancer. So, after all of this frenetic energy, Mercury being in Gemini, taking in all this information, Mercury in Cancer is going to be about processing it. And it will go retrograde in Cancer. So once it moves in there, start paying attention because you're going to have to do a lot of emotional processing during that time. Which is why it's important to really sort of let your heart and mind come together with this new moon. So then we got the moon in Virgo, which is known as the first quarter square. First quarter squares are always an adjustment period. It's like you set the intention in Gemini, and then when the moon goes into Virgo, it's like adjusting. It's going, hey, think about it this way. And so in Virgo, it's about service. Virgo is about health, so we may have some indications that a new piece of information comes out about the virus, about how we can be healthy, about especially since it will trine Uranus at that first quarter square, which I think is great. Yeah, moon trine Uranus. That is emotional innovation, hopefully regarding health, man. Maybe this is when you decide to deal with all this. The best thing you can do is be healthy, eat well. That's the good things coming out of this whole situation are we're learning to cook at home. We don't need to be going out and eating fast food all the time. Maybe you've taken up a new hobby of making teas for yourself. So the next weekend, that's that first quarter square adjustment. Like, okay, maybe I really should start taking more vitamin D. If we're just going to reopen and people are going to be breathing all over me, I'm going to have to make sure and stay on top of my health. It's absolutely important. And also Virgo is about routine and ritual as well. So, maybe a good idea to start a new routine somehow. So then, and in Libra, I'm just looking for the shifts we got going on here. There's the moon opposite Uranus and Scorpio. There's that full moon. Okay, there it is. It's before that. So Tuesday, June 2nd, Venus and the sun come together. Actually, it looks like I want to know the exact day. No, I need the search. Where's my search? There it is. Forgive me, I'm getting really nerdy and looking for the exact Venus-Sun conjunction. It's called a Venus star point. And for instance, the last Venus star point was in Leo. And you can track these. They make a beautiful pattern in the sky. So the next one, June 3rd, 2020 at 13 degrees of Gemini. So this point is, there's many different ways you can look at this, and many different astrologers think, you know, it's just like kind of the actual whole point of what I'm talking about, the fact that people have different opinions on things, right? So there is a certain subset of astrologers that believe Venus conjunct the sun is combust, right? So that means it doesn't really, the sun overtakes it. There's a certain amount, though, that think that it just sort of adds a life force, and I'm in that camp. Just because you can't see Venus when the Venus and the sun are together doesn't mean anything. I think it means that the sun's almost like renewing that energy, okay? It's like, hey, Venus, what's up? High five. That's what's going on. So just pay attention that day. Could be extremely creative. Might feel very good. With Venus being retrograde, could be very internal. June 3rd, Wednesday. I do want to read the Sabian symbol for Wednesday, June 3rd, because that's always interesting. Sabian symbols are like word pictures for each degree of the zodiac. There it is. So what we'll do is look at the Sabian symbol for 14 degrees, because you always read for the next degree up. And Gemini 14 says, bridging physical space and social distinctions, two men communicate telepathically. Oh my God, you cannot make this stuff up. Let me show you. It just amazes me. The Venus star point Sabian symbol. Wow. So, bridging physical space and social distinctions, two men communicate telepathically. So this is about the capacity to transcend the limitations of bodily existence. In order to function in the world of material entities, man needs to focus the energies of life in a limited organism and an ego mind that is formed by pressures of a particular cultural and family background. Yet, a time comes when the individual can still transcend the limiting boundaries of culture and ego. An effort should be made to enter a realm of consciousness in which the communication from mind to mind can take a more direct form, because the minds then operate within the one mind of humanity. It is then as if two cells in a human body were communicating to each other, perhaps through some kind of invisible nerve channels, or as it were, from nucleus to nucleus by means of vibratory resonance. We see the potentiality of a new technique to be used in the newly opened lands confronting the pioneers in human evolution. It is a technique of transcendence. It evidently can also bring confusion and many failures, as well as illusory claims and self-deceit. I think we can look at that as the Sabian symbol for the entire 2 months of Venus retrograde. Wow, that is amazing. I think that's amazing for that to be the Sabian symbol for the Venus star point. All right, take that as you will. I think it's cool. So we're going to go back to the chart, clear all drawings. Need my mouse. Okay, so yeah, June 3rd, telepathic communication. I think that's so cool. We pretty much telepathically communicate right now. I mean, I can think a thought that I want to send to you and text it. It's not going to be long before we can just think that thought and it's coming to you, you know? Another interesting thing about the Venus star point is this is when Venus becomes a morning star. So up until this, and you can see it, let me go to the, well, I think we can just see right here. I'll point. There's the sun and there's Venus. That means, and this is the direction of the sunset. So that means Venus sets just after, I mean, just before the sun, just after the sun right now. But then as we go to the Venus star point, that's when Venus will start to rise before the sun. And that's a really cool thing to see. You get up early in the morning, Venus is bright in the sky. Right now, it's very low on the horizon. It's setting just after the sunset. So go out now and see it because it's beautiful. But then it's going to rise and it's going to be beautiful. And the morning star is said to be a little more benefic, like it brings a bit of a brighter energy, you know. It's a day planet, so I think. Okay, so then that's June 3rd. Then we come to the full moon on June 5th, it looks like. Is that correct? Yeah, June 5th, around between about 2 p.m. So that's when I guess I will come back and do another update. I don't see any huge shifts other than that. That full moon in Sagittarius is going to be about truth, just so you know. Mars will be square to the sun. In fact, Mars looks like it will be square to that Venus star point, which will be very interesting. Mars is the masculine, striking out creative force, and Venus is the receptive creative force. To have those two in square, Pisces and Gemini, kind of confusing. But also kind of opening up to this very feminine energy, because Mars and Pisces is kind of feminine energy as well. Okay, well, hope I haven't missed anything. Let me go look and see if any of y'all are talking to me. Let's see. Yeah, nobody said nothing. Oh, Brittany said yes. Love you, Brittany. Hey, y'all. It's so good to see all of you. Okay, so I think I'm done. I love you all very much. I wish the best for you during this unprecedented time. Did I stop my sharing? Yeah, I did. Get with me if you want to know where all this is going on in your own chart, where the macrocosm comes down to the micro level and affects you and maybe helping you shift. Spend this next little bit of time through late June seeing and checking out other people's perspectives. Play with reality. What's it like to be that person? Explain what it's like to be you. Tell your story. That is what this human existence is about. It's a fabric of human story and human experience, and we all have a different one. And none of them are wrong. Yes, there's evil in the world. Yes, there's bad in the world. But when it comes down to your experience, you're doing the best you can. At least I hope you are. Although I don't think Hitler did the best he could. I don't know. That being said, I love you all. I hope you find some opportunity to be creative and laugh and get out in nature and hang with your friends the way you need to and the way you want to. If you're going out to restaurants, wash your hands and tip your servers extremely well. If you're not, I don't blame you one bit. I wish for health and happiness for everybody. I really do. And I'm here for you if you need to talk. And I really, really want y'all to feel good. All right. Have a good one.